Morning, Michael here. Welcome back to the channel on March 21, 2023. We're 11 a.m. in the morning European time, Brussels in particular. European markets have been open for 2 hours. Spain obviously a little bit longer, and we'll have to wait for another 4 hours or so before the US markets open. Today we'll have a deep dive, closer look at the Nasdaq share PDD. And the reason is that this is at this moment the number one share in the sweet spot. We'll come back to that a little bit later. Fortunately, today the markets opened again positive after quite some gains yesterday, which of course all came after the worst trading week we've had so far in 2023, following the collapses of the Silicon Valley Bank and almost Credit Suisse, which has been bailed out by UBS in the end. Um, this fear will remain for a while because obviously prices of bank shares are not driven by their intrinsic value, but just by the emotion around it, which means that if there is a positive sphere, people will look favorably at bank shares, and when there is the slightest worry, it's the bank shares that get punished in the first place, which is rightfully so, as most banks still are not behaving the way that they should be behaving. Otherwise, we would not be seeing these crises all the time. So today and yesterday, we've seen most of the bank shares gaining a little bit back of the losses that they've encountered over the past 2 weeks. But it's a very fragile confidence, and your guess is as good as mine as what will happen in the next weeks. If we have a look at the dashboard, this is the share that I'm talking about, and that we will have a look at a little bit more. Very nice spread of 21.05%, and I remind you, the spread for my shares in the sweet spot is the difference between the current price and the first resistance. So what we want to do is to validate the first resistance as I have it here in my watch list, which is to be clear. At this moment, the resistance that we have documented here is 95.52 dollars, which gives us this spread of 21.05% that I've been talking about. So I want to validate this first resistance against my own analysis. And obviously, if we confirm that first resistance, then this spread is for real. If I come up with another first resistance, then this spread may go up or down. It's usually going down. So let's have a look at that. First thing I always do is try and get a bit more background on what the share that we're looking at actually is. And to my surprise, I see that the PDD Holdings listed in the US is actually the holding company of, amongst others, Pinduoduo. I know Pinduoduo very well. I've been looking at that share over the past 1.5 years because it's one of those shares that has been consistently with a rating of accumulate or buy, and consistently been going up almost all the time and breaking every time the resistance is there. PDD, Pinduoduo in particular, is a sort of an Alibaba, but then specializing in agricultural products. So a very nice niche here. So this is a share company operating mostly in China, while Temu is an e-platform that runs in the United States. If I dig a little bit deeper in the data that I get from my brokerage account, I cannot find any data on profitability and growth. Obviously, I could have spent time going to the web page, then checking the yearly publications, or trying to find that data somewhere else. I decided not to spend that time here and to take the fact that we don't have that data as a given and as a risk, and to concentrate on the technical analysis because I'm more confident in what I do myself than what I get from others. On the left-hand side, we see here the graph of the share price evolution over the past 3 years. And what we see on the left-hand side of that graph on the left side is that the share price in 2021 was actually quite a bit higher than where we are today. Over 2021, we've seen a gradual decline of the share price, which reached its bottom somewhere in the middle of 2022. And then if you look at the right-hand side of the left graph, you see that as of mid-2022, the share has been rebounding and has been going into a gradual increase again. If we look then on the right-hand side graph, that shows the evolution of the past 6 months, which confirms that increase, that gradual increase over the past 6 months, and in particular over the past 3 months. So we can see that better here. We can see that better here on this graph, where we look at the detail of the share price evolution over the past 3 months. You can see that it's actually been quite stable over the past 3 months, with two notable figures. The first support at 91.56 and the first resistance, which I've calculated here at 95.04, which is not very far away from the 95.52 that we have in the watch list, and which has been provided by public data. So in conclusion, that would mean, given the small difference between the first resistance that I've calculated and the one that we have in the watch list, I would say that this spread of 21.05% is quite realistic and quite spot on. Obviously, there are no guarantees there. That is the upward potential. That upward potential only means something if indeed the share goes up. It could go down any time, and what you then see is if it breaks that first support of 95.56, that there's quite a bit of, let's have a look here, there's quite a bit of downward potential here as well. So again, I hope you've found this of interest to see every now and then how I do my detailed analysis and how I challenge the data that I find in the public domain in particular. I think that's absolutely necessary to teach yourself to at least challenge and validate certain data and not to blindly accept whatever you can find lying around there. If you have found it interesting, and if you do think it can be of use to you, please do subscribe and give these videos every now and then a like. It is very important for a young channel to get noticed by the YouTube algorithms and help me get that 1 million subscribers. I'm sure we'll get there at some point. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back again with an update tomorrow. Have a great day.